Your message probably went to spam.
A little bit of an echo.
Probably went to spam.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So some. Yeah. As I'm getting set up this morning, I was joking with Joy. You probably can't see this, but behind the podium here against the wall, there's a little 2-foot cord. And when I started out about 6 months ago, we had a 12-foot cord. That disappeared. And then it became a 6-foot cord. That disappeared. This morning there was no cord, and that's what Joy found. A little 2-foot cord. We don't know where they go. We just don't know where they go. Well, good morning, everyone. And Joy, are we taping?
Yes.
Okay. And I wanted to welcome our folks at home today as well. Today we are going to talk about hurricanes. It seems a little early, but yes, we're pushing up right up against hurricane season, which starts on June 1st. So sorry for the bad news. I know it's somewhat of a downer when we start talking about hurricanes, but it's so important that we talk about hurricanes because, as you'll see as I go through the slide presentation, we've had quite a few events over the last, since 2018-17, I think is when I started tracking that for the slide presentation. And literally almost one major event a year, whether it's well, either we had to evacuate or we had to shelter in place. So very, very important information I'm going to be sharing with you today. It's going to move fairly quickly because I also have some additional information I want to share with you, some dining updates, a sales update, a quick financial update as well. So it's going to move rather quickly. I will just ask that you save your questions for the end, and then we'll try to get to your questions, okay? So I just shared the agenda with you. So as we go in, this is the hurricane history that I was sharing with you, and maybe I get behind the podium here so everybody can see. All the way back to 2016, which was Matthew, major impact on the island, major impact for Tide Point. We had to evacuate the island. And then in 17, another large storm came through Irma. Florence in 18, where we had to shelter in place. Dorian in 19. Got a little bit of a reprieve, I don't know, a little bit of a reprieve during COVID. Isn't that something? They figured we're already sheltering in place or locked down, so. And then here we go again at 22 with Ian, and then last year with Debbie. And by the way, Debbie, I don't know if you remember when they were talking about Debbie, that was going to be, it was a 100-year storm in terms of rainfalls, what they were predicting. So it ended up being a category 1, but they were predicting some of the heaviest rain and most rain that we've seen in over 100 years. It didn't turn out like that, fortunately, but that was the prediction. So when you take a look at the hurricanes over the years, there's really some key lessons that we've learned as a community. And I'm sure many of you have learned over the years as well. And that is, first of all, make sure you have a plan. Probably the most important, particularly because we're on an island and at times we're called to evacuate. And probably one of the second largest lessons that we've learned is that if we have to evacuate, we have to leave on time. We have to get out of here as soon as possible. And if you're watching the news reports last year, as Milton was rolling across Florida and impacting Florida, the lines that were coming out of Florida, they ran out of gas. They couldn't get the trucks down there quick enough to refill the gas stations. Hotel rooms were not available. So the millions of people that had to evacuate, it was a huge impact. So leaving at the right time is really, really important. As I mentioned, the hurricane season starts on June 1st, rolls all the way to the end of November, just past Thanksgiving. Way too long, if you ask me. So if we take a look at, before we look ahead or look at the current year, let's take a look back at 2024 and see what that looked like. So the Atlantic hurricane season became the third costliest on record, only behind 2017. I think that was Matthew, and then 2005. We had 18 named storms, 11 which were hurricanes, and 5 major hurricanes. And I think probably 3 of the 5 were on the East Coast, the Atlantic Basin here. It was the first year since 2019 to feature multiple Category 5 hurricanes: Beryl, Milton, and Helene. And I think Beryl and maybe even Helene sort of popped at a Category 5 and then it dropped back down real quick, but it carried a lot of heavy rain and winds all the way up throughout its path. So in 2024, Colorado State University is probably one of the areas that most folks look for predictions. If you take a look at 2024, the predictions were, or forecasted 23 named storms, 11 hurricanes and 5 majors, and the actual came right on target. It's pretty amazing. So this is a spaghetti map of the activity that we saw in the Atlantic Basin last year. Quite a bit, right? And I think these over here, remember these? We're like, oh, thank goodness. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, yes, keep going out there. But this was Debbie right here. Sort of came in and look, it just skirted around us. It's amazing. Helene here, that was where it hit a 5 before it sort of dropped down. A huge impact in the valley there. And then this one crisscrossed Florida, which caused all the evacuations in Florida. The track of Debbie, that was the first one. We sheltered in place during that hurricane. It ended up being a Category 1 hurricane. And then by the time it got down to us, these squares here, it sort of dropped to a tropical storm. But still pretty impactful as it went through Savannah. I don't know if anybody drove through Savannah after the storm, but a lot of downed trees, a lot of damage in and around Savannah.
Mike, we were in Vermont at the time and it came through Vermont. And it
Yeah.
washed away one complete golf course.
My goodness, yeah. So yeah, there's the track right there all the way up. Amazing. And then Helene, which caused, there's still recovery efforts around Helene. And that's right there is where it popped as a Category 5 before drawing back. We were very concerned about that one. We didn't know which way it was going to go after landfall, but it kept going northwest. And then Milton, I had family in this area right here, right around Port Charlotte, South Carolina. They ended up sheltering in place, but they were without power for a week. So that was a very impactful storm as well. So as we take a look at 2025 and what's forecasted for 2025, they are predicting a slightly above average hurricane season. And you're going to see how those averages relate to the forecasting on the next slide. Potential for more named storms and hurricanes compared to the average, so a little bit higher than average there. Predicting 17 named storms and 9 hurricanes, with 4 major hurricanes Category 3 or higher. So here's the comparison with the forecast for 2025 compared to last year, and then the historical average. So they're saying the average is 14, so they're saying slightly above average. Not sure where it's going to come in. 7 to 10 hurricanes, 3 to 5 majors. And this number here I've really been focusing in on. So they call it the ACE, which is the accumulated cyclone energy, the power of the storm. And if you take a look at the 30-year average, 123, so take a look at last year, the power of the storm that came through. And then look what they're forecasting this year, the high up to 175. So global warming, warmer water temperatures over the Gulf, Atlantic Basin, is what's powering these. So as we shift into planning, high level for V, we currently have 4 motor coach buses under contract. We'll renew that contract again this year. If we do need to evacuate, we'll have 6 Tie Point vehicles. In addition to the motor buses, we'll secure 2 moving trucks. And we're currently looking at sites in Augusta for evacuation. Might need to go a little north of that, maybe towards Columbia. And then for the care center, 1 acute care hospital. I will say that for the hotels, and I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into this as I go through the presentation, we're finding it harder and harder to get any commitments for hotels. And you can understand why, because first of all, they're generally running about 70–80% occupancy before these storms, and they can't have a locked-in agreement really with anybody. So what they're saying is that, hey, if you need rooms, we understand that you might need rooms. Call us as soon as you can, and if we have them, we'll book them for you. But they're also requiring payment. It's not like we're going to hold them for you. So, and some of the hotels don't even call you back. Yeah. So this is the area that we're looking at in terms of relocation. First choice is Augusta. That's in our evacuation corridor. I think many of you might have been to Augusta, and if you were here during Hurricane Matthew. So right now I'm having conversation with the Crown Plaza in Augusta. I've reached out to the Marriott in Augusta multiple times and sent emails, but still haven't heard back. And then there's a Holiday Inn that we're looking at as well. And the care center is looking at a facility here as well. So that's our first choice. If we can't really get any traction, then we're going to be trying to secure rooms up in the, or not secure rooms, but have conversations with hotels up in the Columbia area. Ideally, we don't want to be separated from our care center. Ideally, we want to be in the same town or area, so we can, I guess, gain some synergy and with our employees. So many of you know, when do we evacuate, or do we evacuate? Well, when the governor of South Carolina says so, that's when we evacuate. So I do believe there was, not just a few years ago, that there was an evacuation notice, and then it was rescinded because the storm sort of changed directions, and that did cause us to, I guess, lock into some hotel rooms, and there were some required payments as a result of that. But once again, that doesn't happen often, and better safe than sorry. So if that case comes up again, if we know that we're on path and the governor says evacuate, we're going to try to be ahead of the curve and secure those hotel rooms. So many of you have already been through this in terms of the information that we need from members for evacuations. So in a few weeks, you're going to get some updated information from us, a handout that we would ask that you go through and update your emergency contacts. There'll be an evacuation agreement in there, and pretty much requesting, are you going to evacuate with us, or are you going to do it independently with family, instead of family's home? And then it's going to ask for some basic medical information. So we're going to see that packet come out soon. I did want to share a little bit about evacuation, just a little sidebar here, that, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier. So you saw the ACE index, which is the energy that these storms are producing. So we're seeing larger storms, more frequent storms, and more impactful storms. Not only here on the Atlantic Basin, but also in the Gulf Basin. So that's really impactful. and it's impacting our ability, the evacuation world, so to speak. So we're seeing larger numbers of evacuees. Definitely saw that in Florida last year where that hurricane went right across the state. So they were evacuating the southern part because they weren't sure if it was going to hit southern Florida. And then those in the middle were right in the bullseye. And then who knows if it was going to turn north. So we're also seeing fewer resources. And we're seeing hotels that are no longer willing to facilitate holding rooms. So, and I get this information from some of our communities in Florida who had some real live evacuations recently, Naples being the primary community that's done that. So, and then transportation challenges. So the amount of traffic getting to your destination, as I alluded to earlier, gas stations are running out of gas. They can't get the gas there quick enough due to the volume of cars that need it. And you're seeing stranded motorists along the way. So we're actually taking a look at maybe a different approach to independent living evacuations for this year. And I'm going to share a little bit more about that in a couple more slides, but I did want to set the stage with some of the challenges that communities are facing with evacuations. So when Naples evacuated last year, they ended up at 4 hotels. And you can imagine how that divides up not only the members, the residents, but also the staffing, trying to get staff to support members or residents in 4 different hotels. And I would say, just to touch on the staff component, so this is very, very stressful for staff. So if you think about it, they're literally, in many kind of ways, evacuating twice in one evacuation. They're evacuating to support members, and they're evacuating families. And it gets to be very stressful for the staff. And then if families come along with them, if you can imagine, say somebody's working a 12-hour shift from 7P to 7A, and then their family's in the room pretty much that next day, they really struggle for sleep. They also really struggle to be able to focus on the residents. And this is some of the feedback that we're getting from staff in Naples, that it's a heavy lift for staff when they evacuate. So we just need to recognize that. It's a heavy lift for you too. It's a heavy lift for everybody. But they're actually doing sort of double duty, helping to support members and helping to support family at the same time. So it's very stressful for them. So as with this in mind, I'm going to go into the next slide and share some thoughts that we're considering for hurricane planning for this year that would impact you if you decide to evacuate. And the biggest one is reviewing options such as a per diem. So the focus, the goal when we evacuate for independent living is really focused on your safety and our staff safety. It's that's our first and foremost concern. So that's where our focus is, and that's where our focus will stay. It's not really intended to go and set up another Tide Point community at a hotel. And I think in 2017 might have been a different approach back then, where I think Tide Point literally took over a hotel. They had the kitchen, they had probably access to the bar and the lounge. Lifestyles was setting up games, and it did become a fairly large event. So I think the way with the frequency of storms, the severity of storms, and the challenges with hotels, I think we're going to be shifting our focus a little bit, certainly, and focus truly on an independent living, those individuals that truly need it, that might not have family. But if there is an option for members that have family and they want to go outside of our hotel or outside of the area, we're looking at a per diem that you would be reimbursed with. So more to come on that once I get, and I should know more in the next couple of weeks on that, in terms of what that's going to look like. So it is somewhat of a shift. Not to say that you can't come at the hotel, but I'll also share some information that it might not be the best scenario for some of our members, because if we don't get that many hotel rooms, we might have, for individuals, it might be meaning that you have a shared room. It might not be a single occupant in one hotel room. We might have to do double occupancy. It's gonna be meals on own. We're not gonna be able to go into the kitchen where the bar and set up bars and cook in their kitchen, so to speak. So it's gonna be a little bit different feel, particularly for the members that were here in 2017. So once again, focus on safety, get you out of the area, get you a secure room to stay in if you're with us. But I would also encourage you to take a look at other options such as family. Or it doesn't have to be family, it could just be, I'm gonna take a little trip, whatever it might be, but you could get a per diem for that. So if you do happen to evacuate independently, and you'll see this in the information that we send out to you, you want to ensure that you have your medical information, know where you're going to be heading to, how you're going to get there, and it's not even a bad idea if you're going to be traveling far to have a map, an old-time map, particularly if there's no power around. Yeah, what are those? I'm sure some of us have some of those. I know my father had a bunch of them. Know the evacuation routes or roads you plan to take. So think about it. It's going to be you and about 1 million other people heading out. So we're on the back end. So you probably want to be on the front end. When I say the back end, is like if something major is coming, you got to go through Bluffton, you got to go through all these other towns that are already evacuating. So we're on the tail end of that.
Well, you got to get through Florida.
You want to also ensure that you have plans to accommodate your pets, secure your private or personal information, have a good suggestion from one of our members to essentially just save everything on a drive, one of those little drives that you can take with you, so then you have all your information. Any important papers, you might want to have that, and then also have a plan B. So as you can see with Hurricane Debbie, the way that it was supposed to hit us, and then it just sort of went around us, we don't know, I mean, you just never know the direction hurricanes are going to take. So if you evacuate with Tide Point, once again, medical information, we're going to need you to have medical information, secure your private personal information. There could be shared accommodations. It all depends on the number of hotel rooms we get and the number of folks that evacuate. I did share with the Crown Plaza as an example. There are 200 rooms, it's not a big hotel. So I said, we could probably use up to 150 rooms. So I don't know if we're gonna get 150 rooms at the Crown Plaza, so maybe it's a combination of the Crown Plaza, the Holiday Inn, and the Marriott, all in the same city. We will provide, obviously, the hotel room and transportation with the buses. And then if you do get you set up in a hotel, food and beverage will be on your own. So local restaurants in the hotel or just outside the hotel. If you were in Wine Down and maybe got a couple bottles of wine, I would encourage you to take them. So for the hurricane handouts, they're going to be coming soon. They'll be in your inbox, your in-house mailbox. I will send out a message, or if it's not me, someone will send out a message that they're going out so that you're aware that they're going to be placed in your mailbox. And just a reminder, once you get them, please just focus in on them, get that information down and get them turned around. The date that we would ask that you return them to us will be in the packet. The quicker we can get your information, the better planning that we can do in terms of who's going to be going with us, how many rooms we need, and if you're not going to be going with us, who's going to be going where. So a couple other things we're going to be thinking about. I already mentioned plan ahead, but complete and turn in that evacuation plan. Don't forget your medications. And I will ensure that they're in the original prescription bottle so that if you do need to get a refill when we are outside of this area, that they can refill it fairly easily. I would suggest that you have at least a 30-day supply of medications if you're gonna be traveling or leaving the area for evacuation. And I only say that because when I was in Texas with Hurricane Harvey, pharmacies weren't open. Pharmacies were not open, so, and that was probably a 10-day event, at least, with the flooding. Yeah. Plan for your pets, and just ensure you got a pet carrier for your pets. And then, depending on how this plays out with the per diem, so if you're outside of staying with Tide Point, then you would have a per diem. If you're with us in the hotel, then we would encourage you to save your receipts for any meals, any miles that you might have driven if you took your own car, any food. Keep all your receipts. And once again, we're exploring the per diem reimbursement option with more details coming soon. There's a couple ways that we communicate throughout these events. One is the Tide Point Community app. Of course, if we evacuate, I don't know if we're going to be doing a whole lot of that, but we could try to do our best to keep that updated. And then the alert media message is probably the primary, which goes right into your email, your phone, via voicemail or text. And I can say that certainly I tested that alert media quite frequently during Hurricane Debbie and then during the ice storm as well. Wait, if we get any more ice storms, we're going to have to add a whole other slide for winter storms. Okay, so I'm going to pause there, and before I go into the dining updates, to see if anybody has any questions on hurricanes.
A question and a comment, please, Michael. First of all, if we submitted information, the next of kin, not the next of kin, but contact information, etc., for 2024, is that information, if it hasn't changed, valid, or do we have to submit a new form?
That information is valid. I would just submit the form saying no changes.
Thank you.
Yes.
And a comment, please, especially since we're now providing our own food and beverages during the day, it seems to me advisable to bring sufficient cash, because without power, no credit cards.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Could you repeat the point?
Did you hear?
Yes, sir. The question, the comment was, if members, if in the evacuation scenario, if members evacuate and the hotels that we stay are without power, they're not going to be able to take credit cards. So the advice is to bring some cash, sufficient cash.
Small bills.
$1 bills. Okay, so we're gonna, any other questions on hurricanes? So information is gonna be coming soon. We ask that you update that information, get it back to us as soon as possible. As soon as I know more about the per diem, I will get that information out to you. Think about the different scenarios for you and your family and your loved ones in terms of what that might look like. We'll hope for the best. All right, so let's shift a little bit into dining. I want to start with some really exciting news. I think many of you would like to hear what I'm about to share, and it's really related to buffets. So in May, we're going to have, so before I go into this, so we've been doing literally one buffet a month since we kicked off buffets, which was about a year ago. We might have had two once in a while, but generally it's been one buffet a month. So in May, we're going to have 3 buffets. We're going to have a Mother's Day buffet. We're going to have a Kentucky Derby Day buffet, which is going to be, I think that's a Saturday buffet. And then at the end of the month, we're gonna have a Memorial Day buffet. So 3 buffets in May. And then starting in June, we are going to get back into a weekly Sunday brunch buffet mode. So every Sunday, it will be a Sunday brunch buffet. Then, on top of that, we're gonna be starting in June, offering 1 theme buffet during the month. So Jessica's already had some thoughts on this. She wants to do an Italian theme in the month of June. So we're not sure the exact date on that yet. We'll get that information out soon, but we're gonna be starting with the Italian night, so that's pretty exciting. In addition, we're gonna continue with the Friday night specials. Is everyone enjoying that?
Yeah.
Friday night special? Yeah. Okay. And then looking ahead, we have what we are calling a fast casual dining option. So fast casual dining option, and we're gonna be tweaking our approach to how the food that we serve in both the Calabogie and the Magnolia rooms. And I'm gonna go into that in detail on the next couple of slides. So you might ask, well, what is fast casual? So it's a quicker, more efficient dining option. So if I could just pause there, by show of hands, does anyone ever want to eat dinner quicker? Maybe just in an hour, instead of sitting down for 1 hour, 45 minutes or so. So yeah, so I think we would all like that option from time to time. Not every night. I mean, it's good to sit down with friends and chat, and I mean, that's part of living at High Point. But folks do want to eat quicker, and we're gonna offer that. So the goal is to provide a quick service, no reservation needed option for members. It'll be we haven't fully designated the area where that's going to be. It's not going to be in the Magnolia. It's not going to be in the casual, the Calabogie. So there's only other 2 options, right? So we're exploring those options, and we're working through that. Zoran's working through that. But the goal is really to have a 1 plate tasty option for you, quick service. You can't do a 3-4 course meal in less than an hour. So it's going to be a really nice composed plate as an option for a meal credit. So as soon as we get this fully flushed out and identify the area, we'll get more information out to you. So essentially, why do we want to do this? Well, we probably saw by a show of hands that there is a desire for some folks to be able to come in, dine quicker, fast, and get back home, or maybe you spent the day at the golf course, and you just wanted to come home and get a quick meal and go back home. So, or maybe it's movie night. You want to go in for a quick meal and get out to a movie. So right now we're looking at limited hours on that, 4:30 to 6, versus the entire dining hours that we have in the Calabogie and the Magnolia. So quicker option, limited time frame, no reservations, and I think this is going to be popular, to be honest with you. At least initially, I think it's going to be popular. In the Calabogie, so currently we have the same menu in the Calabogie and the Magnolia. We're looking to shift that up a little bit so we can offer some additional variety for our members. So if we take a look at the resident satisfaction survey over the last couple of years that I've seen the results, one of the biggest opportunities that we've had is variety. So we try to increase variety for you all through offering the buffet, the specials, and we want to take it even a little bit further. So in this case, we're going to be offering a weekly a la carte menu, very similar to the experience that you currently have in Calabogie, with lots of variety and choices, with something new each week. So menus will be refreshed on a weekly basis, and this gives you a flexible, casual dining experience that feels personable, very similar to what you're getting now. The big difference here is the menu is going to change more frequently, and it's not going to be exactly the same menu as you get in the Calabogie. The Magnolia. So what you're gonna see is you're gonna see a very similar core in each restaurant, but the Calabogie is gonna focus more on a la carte and variety, and then Magnolia is gonna focus on this experience. A chef-crafted, composed dish that changed regularly. So I'd like to just think about a restaurant that you go to on the island. Not every restaurant, but many of the fine dining restaurants that you go to. And generally, you might get a filet mignon, and it comes with garlic mashed potatoes and asparagus. It's a composed plate. It's telling you right on the menu what's on your plate, and that's what we mean by composed plate. You could get a salmon teriyaki with jasmine rice and bok choy. That's a composed plate. So it's going to be more of a composed menu and plate. With thoughtful presentation, seasonal flavors, and a more refined feel. So it's not the casual feel that you're going to feel in the Calabogie. It's going to be more of a refined, composed plate meal in the Magnolia. Upscale creative, thoughtful presentation, a little extra creativity. It's really helps to differentiate the dining experiences for you. So one night you might want to get in and out with a fast casual meal, which is great. And then the next night you might want to say, I want to go to the Magnolia room because I want something a little bit more. I want to sit down and chat with friends, and I want to have that experience. Or, want to visit the Calabogie for a night. So it's going to be 3 different kinds of feels. Is really the goal, with 3 different ways in terms of how we present the menu to give you some additional variety. So you might say, well, everything's fine right now. It's not bad. It's really a good experience. I mean, you get a lot of positive comments about our dining experience, Calabogie, Magnolia. And let me share a little bit of why we're heading in this direction. Not only the resident satisfaction survey, the feedback that you've all provided around variety, but we're also, not only do we need to create a great dining experience for you, but as new members come in, there's different feelings about the dining experience for some of the baby boomers that are coming in. So they are looking for more variety. They are looking for different experiences. They are looking for fast meals in and out. And you may have noticed in some cases they're more casual. They're more casual. Some of the baby boomers coming in now than we've seen in the last 5-10 years. And that's just a different generation. So I equate it to like my kids, right? There's generation X, Y, and Z. Well, it's the same as we age, right? You come from different generations. There was a silent generation, and so what we're seeing now coming into our communities is potential members from the 50s and 60s versus the 30s and 40s. You're seeing Vietnam vets come in versus Korean War and World War II. So it's just, so we're just trying to create an experience for everybody and change and shift a little bit to meet those needs. So if you just hold that question for just a minute.
Yes, I will.
Okay.
I forgot.
Yeah. So this is somewhat of a change. It's a shift in our approach. We're looking at more towards the end of the second quarter to start shifting this. It's a heavy lift for our team, Zoran and Jessica, but I can tell you that they're all in on it. We've shared this with the dining committee, and we do know that there's probably going to be some feedback and thoughts from you all in terms of, is this really the right move? Is this really the right approach? Because everything seems to be working pretty good right now. I would just ask that you be open to this change, and I think if you go out and dine elsewhere outside of Tide Point, in some of the local restaurants, our approach is somewhat mirroring what you're seeing in the market, and even in some of the retirement communities other than the senior living. So in my last community in Texas, we had different restaurants that had a different focus. One was more casual. We had a bar area that we served a fast casual kind of theme, pretty quick in and out. We had a steakhouse concept, focused on, more of a steakhouse theme. We had an international restaurant, focused more on the international, so it was just creating different experiences. So, I'm gonna pause there, and I know you probably need some time to digest this. Right, no pun intended. Or chew on it, however you want to take that.
Where's the tomatoes? A question, maybe to get behind the scenes. If you're not taking reservations for the fast casual, how do you plan? How do you plan for the one meal that you're offering?
There's only gonna be so many seats. So,
Okay, that'll do.
yeah, there's only gonna be so many seats available. And really, I mean, it's a great question. It is a little bit harder to plan for if you don't have history or reservations. But there's only so many seats, and then we'll be able to sort of measure volume and cover count versus our point of sale system.
And in an hour and a half, you might be able to get one turn, but
Well, we're
maybe two.
Two, we're thinking.
Two.
Mhm. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Can I wear jeans
Can you wear jeans to what?
to the casual one?
That all depends on what time. It's, the club room. No jeans.
Nowhere.
Not even for the fast food one?
We haven't changed any dress code options for jeans.
Population's changing.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta be honest with you, 'cause I usually hear it the other way. Oh, I usually hear it the other way. Why are they wearing jeans? So,
1 out of 3 restaurants?
so what happens if you wear jeans? So we do say, yes, jeans, and then there's no seating, and then you're like, well, I gotta eat somewhere. But
I'll have
there's
to go
no,
back and change my clothes.
If a woman's clothing, that's
duly noted, we'll take that feedback.
Okay.
It appears to be that saying no jeans, it really boils down to trousers made of blue denim. The style of the pants I'm wearing is jeans. They're black, and it's not blue denim, and nobody is complaining at all. But it just seems like the objection is blue denim more than jeans.
In that context, I think you have a point, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
We have friends that are coming here from California to look at Tide Point and Cypress. So we're hoping things like this will, influence them to Tide Point.
Yeah, I think potential members that are coming in, they do take a look at the dining experience. It's huge. It's probably one of the biggest factors. That, the feel of the community, friendliness of the community, and certainly the dining experience.
Walkways, traffic control walkways, that's a big plus too.
I would agree. Okay, so, yes, I've got a question in the back, Phyllis.
Always want to go.
Yeah, it's usually the same one.
Since you didn't repeat what the people were saying on that side, we couldn't hear anything over here about when you were talking to them, but talk to me about reservations a little bit in terms of, kept saying you might want to do this one night, you might want to do this one night. and, you know, whatever you decide to do. But I think we do still have to understand that on the spur of the moment, it's not, you know, I'm going to do this. Because we, you know, with the advanced reservation system, it's not going to be as smooth, especially, I guess you said there was one set time in this new quick food operation, or fast food.
4:30 to 6 is the hours that we're planning on opening up with.
Okay, but what does that do? Is there any time besides 4:30, I guess, that you would make a reservation?
So for that dining experience, that what we call the fast casual,
Right.
no reservation,
Okay, just walk in a sense?
just walk in.
Okay,
For the other 2 dining rooms, still reservations.
right. And only one more when you talk about the composed dish. I understand that, but in a sense, would there be 3 on the menu or 1 only, or what do you?
Oh, no, it'll be a variety of options on that menu. It's not just gonna be 1 or 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, once, I know Jessica and Zoran are working on those menus, once we get some samples together of what that would look like, we can share that, we'll share with the dining committee, and we can share it to you all ahead of any of those changes that are coming, just so you can sort of envision what's coming, and that might actually prompt some additional questions and thoughts.
Happy vote.
Okay. All right, so we'll keep you updated as we travel down on this journey together. It's a lot. And I do appreciate, I mean, some good points around fast casual, if it's gonna be fast, and you're just getting off the golf course, and, you know, do I really need to change and sort of, put on something, or can I wear my jeans? So I mean, it's good feedback, definitely. Yes, sir. Hold on just a minute for the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okey doke, no, I don't. Is the cost going to be the same no matter what venue?
It's gonna be a meal ticket, it'll be 1 meal credit for each
Okay.
venue. Yeah. Is there an option? Okay, for that venue? So Zoran is saying that if you didn't want to use a meal credit, there will be an option for, to pay cash or credit. Yeah. Got another one here, Phyllis? Well, that one certainly spurred some interest. Or comments.
Michael, cash or credit makes no difference if you're paying the same thing for a hamburger in a fast place, or your upscale creative, to me means more expensive. There's no other explanation for it. And I know B's been pushing this here for years, and they're finally getting their way. But they've wanted this forever. But as somebody said, it's the same price everywhere.
You're referring to the
I'm
whatever's
referring to the upscale creative. It's a more expensive meal, obviously. And if somebody, and right now you can come off the golf course and go to Calbogie Room any day in the week. That's no problem. It's just you can't get in the Magnolia Room right off the golf course. So, but it's still creating an inequity, and how you bill it makes no difference.
There's Zoran wants to respond.
Maybe I can try to just clarify a little bit. So the idea is, to offer the variety. So there's not going to be a lot of difference in quality. So Calicook, as a casual environment, is going to continue offering an opportunity for everyone to sort of build your own meal. What we're doing currently, you can choose your entree, you can choose your side, you can choose soup or salad, or The Magnolia is gonna offer, as Michael referred to, more composed plates. So that's the difference. We're not trying to make a difference in the quality of the food offered. At the same time, adding the fast casual, the idea is just to offer really quick one plate meal that's going to contain a nutritious meal, but quickly served on one plate. So, for instance, like you mentioned, burger with fries and a small salad. Instead of having it brought all separately in different courses, it's going to be composed. It's going to come on that one plate. And idea is to, like Michael mentioned, to actually offer an opportunity for members to choose whether they want to use the meal credit or they would prefer to pay for that if they don't think the value meets the criteria. But the price, the idea, again, this is still in creation, so we're still building this. But I believe the idea is to have that price in the range of a meal or of a lunch value. So that's the idea. So that will be sort of a money value for fast casual, if that makes sense.
Michael, I think the issue here is that people are not getting the same value because they're going to different rooms. But right now, you're using a meal credit for lunch, which might be very different than your dinner. And it's all one meal credit. You know, regardless of how you use it. So there's no difference.
Money value is going to be the same value like a lunch.
Yeah, so it's a good point, right? Right now, it's whether you have lunch or dinner, it's a meal credit. So maybe that changes down the road. I don't know. I know that's been explored in the general market for retirement communities, where you might have a bank of money versus a bank of meal credits.
You better go back to committee and talk about it.
Yeah. So, but that's a whole nother topic and conversation. So. Anyway, you know, that fast casual, once again, it's you can't get 3 or 4 courses into an hour if you're gonna do a fast casual. So we're looking for a really nice plate that, a great entree, composed all in one plate, you're gonna feel the value with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember my question, I don't need. Will that be published on the app?
Yes.
In other words, I'll be able to look on Monday to see what they're having on Friday in the fast food place?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Fast casual. Yes. Oh.
Can I just remind people that it's $5 a meal? That's how it comes to it. You're not here for a month, you get about $150 off. I don't understand how it's possible. In essence, it's $5 a meal.
More than that, if you go over, it's more than that.
Yeah, she's referring to the credit if you're out of the community for a month.
No, I mean, just talking about when you're here and you're talking about paying, it's too much. It's what we're paying is $5.
Now, the price per meal is actually in the member handbook in terms of if you want additional meals, what that's costing.
No, I understand. If you are 2 people, the other person is $5. What? Okay, I can't. Thank you. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Was there? I thought I saw another question. Okay. Okay, so I know Zoran and Jessica are committed to ensuring that we have lots of good communication around this and keeping you informed as we head down this pathway, as well as our dining committee. So this is, it is a shift. But I think it's gonna be a great shift for you because you're gonna have multiple dining experiences. You're gonna have multiple dining experiences.
Michael, just from what I'm hearing, is the goal to do away with meal credits and go back to what other retirement communities do?
No, that's not what I'm understanding the goal to be. I was just sharing that in the retirement community world that I have seen some communities that have opted for the bucket of money a month. You know, you get sort of like a bank account of money towards your meal versus the meal credit. We're not looking to do that here, to my knowledge. I was just sharing that some other community, some up in the retirement world, some of those businesses have used that approach.
It just sounds that if you're starting to pay for a meal, you're kind of leaning in that direction.
The whole ordering process has all zeros out there that could easily be changed.
Yeah, I just, from what I understand, given this change with fast casual, there was an option if you wanted to pay cash, or credit card, that was gonna be an option for you. So, and that's just based on, I guess, some feedback we've heard of some of the other communities, from some of the other meat communities, because a lot of those have already put in this fast casual experience. And I think, I gotta be honest with you, the menu that I saw that Jessica's looking at is pretty nice. This is pretty nice.
Will the fast casual meal cost less than a meal credit?
We'll get that information out to you. I don't have that information right now, to be honest with you. Maybe the last question on dining, and then I'll wrap up my slides, Mr.
Everything I've heard is we've got such a small kitchen, and now we want the kitchen to do more.
So we do have a small kitchen. So what you haven't seen behind the scenes is we've actually made some changes and shifted some of our equipment in the kitchen to handle more of an a la carte experience. So if you went into the kitchen in the evening, we now have a cold prep station, so to speak, where they're building the salads and putting the salads out, and any cold composed salads comes off the cold side, where in the past it came off the hot side. But in talking with Jessica and John, they feel that they can do this, to create this experience. Okay. All right, just a couple more slides here. I think I accidentally clicked backwards. So Deanie was gonna join us. Oh, Deanie, okay. I was gonna say Deanie's doing what Deanie does best, and she was closing a sales agreement.
Hi everyone, good morning.
Good morning.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Background says no? Okay, I'm gonna be forced to use this then. I just want to give you guys a quick sales update. We currently, as of this morning, have 10 sales. We have 4 that have currently closed for the year. We have 6 that are pending closing. Our current listings consist of 2 Cape Charles villas, 4 Cape Hatteras villas, and we have 1 cottage for sale that we are anticipating a contract on in the morning. So that would bump us up to 11 sales. We do have a Discover Tide Point next week. I think you all are probably familiar with that event that we have. It's where we have invited folks on an age and income list to come in and tour our community and sample lunch and then see the units listed for sale. That will be next Wednesday, the 30th. I wanted to let you know some people have wanted to or have made recommendations about wanting other members to see some of our available properties. That's going to be available next Wednesday to you as well. If you want to come in and take a look at some of the empty villas, or should I say the available villas, you're welcome to do that next Wednesday, the 30th, from like 1 o'clock until 3 o'clock. And if you want information on which villas are on the market for you to take a look at, we'll have it provided right out here in the rotunda for you. Any questions? Yes, sir.
With respect to the asking price, are the values holding up, or is a lot of variation or bidding or low,
Yes.
low bids or?
No, no low bids.
The asking price seems to be the going price?
Asking price, you know, it depends on what we have. So if we have a unique floor plan, larger, maybe on the marsh, those are going to, in some cases, would go for more than the asking price. But we're seeing prices hold pretty well right now. Okay. Well, thank you all. Have a great day.
Deanie. So that's now 4 because I updated the slide last night, but Deanie's since sold one this morning. So that's why she said 4 and I got 5 there. I would also say that one of the other pieces that is really impacting sales and homes that are updated are moving much quicker than homes that aren't updated. So very similar to what you see in the market out there. If you walk into a home and it's sort of freshened up and everything, you know, sort of catches your eye and you sort of think, well, geez, I don't have to put as much money into it. It's the same here with your home here. So we would always encourage you to just, you know, keep an eye on that and keep thinking about that as you live in your home. If you need to do any updates, just to keep that in mind, because it will help it sell quicker, in my opinion. So. We're running just a few minutes behind. I apologize for that, but this is my next to last slide. I just wanted to give you a quick financial update through the first quarter. And we're actually doing fairly well through the first quarter. So you can see our revenue up here versus we do earn some interest on the investments, which is the reserve fund investments. So it gives us total revenue of $3.4 million. I will say that that's a strong number, but we are seeing some softness in our revenue due to a couple reasons. One is because we didn't have a lot of closings in the first quarter, we're not seeing as many homes getting refreshed, and a lot of that revenue flows through maintenance. Our dining numbers, our bar numbers are down a little bit year to date. And then also we have in this number here, 90% of our, 90+% of our operating revenue comes from member fees and second member fees, but we are seeing some second member fees. We're not hitting our budget on that because we've had some move-outs recently with second members. So we do feel that we, with some of the members that are coming in, they are couples, and we'll be able to catch up on that, but I don't know if we'll be able to recapture all that lost revenue over the last couple of months due to the second person fees. And then down here in expenses, our expenses, you don't see it compared to budget, but our expenses are better than budget. And that's the contribution to the reserve fund for capital expenses so far this year, which has ultimately given us a surplus of $124,000 to our budget. So that's great news for the community. And I'd much rather be up here sharing that number than the number that I was sharing last year. So anyway, we've made some really good progress in terms of just ensuring that we monitoring our expenses and being able to capture any surplus. So that's good news. And then as I wrap up today, the second Thursday of the month is Mingle with Mike, but I'm going to be out of town. Yes, sir.
What do you do with the surplus?
At the end of the year, if we have a surplus, it's rolled over into the reserve fund. So then that money is used for the upkeep of the community. So I'm going to be out of town on the 8th of May, and will not be available, so I'm going to be canceling Mingle with Mike, although that's one of my favorites. So, but it doesn't make sense to reschedule for the following week because then it's back-to-back talks, because the 4th Thursday of the month is the town hall meeting. So we're just going to cancel Mingle with Mike next month, and then we'll resume on the 22nd with the town hall meeting. Yes, ma'am. One, Phyllis?
I need you, Michael. I just want to clarify what I said previously.
Okay.
First of all, I know the meals don't cost $5. kind of what I was referring to, the difference between the 20-meal plan and the 30-meal plan. And that's what I was referring to, and I
Yes,
just
ma'am.
wanted to clarify that.
Right, there is a credit between the 20 and the 30 if you choose the 20.
The only reason I'm talking about it, it seems to me it would be impossible to decide how much a quick meal costs and how much a fancy meal costs and how much the other meal costs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. You all have a good day.
The other mic.
Yeah, there's a lot of them around.
There certainly are. They are.
There used to be a lot of good.
Yes, sir.